Welcome to the Recaps channel. In today's video, we'll recap Revenge. Let's get started. Jen and Richard take a helicopter to his vacation home in the desert. Jen, a young and attractive American, has aspirations of becoming someone in Los Angeles. Before the pilot leaves, he gives Richard some peyote as a welcome gift. Richard enters the house and finds Jennifer, and they have a passionate encounter in bed. Afterwards, he calls his wife to check in. The next morning, Richard's friends Stan and Dimitri arrive early for their hunting trip with him. Richard is forced to introduce Jen to them, even though he had planned for her to leave before their arrival. One of the friends, Stan, seems interested in Jennifer. They all relax by the pool and enjoy the desert scenery. Dimitri becomes intrigued by the drug given to Richard by the pilot. Richard explains that it's a powerful hallucinogenic drug and warns Jennifer to keep it safe. Jennifer hides it in her necklace. She then performs a seductive dance for the men. When Richard refuses to dance with her, she dances with Stan instead. The next morning, Jen wakes up to find Richard gone and Stan becoming increasingly aggressive in his advances. When she refuses him, Stan rapes her. Dimitri witnesses the assault but chooses to ignore it. Richard returns, berates Stan, and offers Jen money to move to Canada. Jen insists on going home and threatens to expose their relationship to Richard's wife unless he calls the helicopter immediately. In response, Richard slaps Jen and she runs off into the desert, pursued by the three men. They corner her at a cliff. Richard pleads and expresses regret for his actions. Jennifer calms down upon realizing her wish is being fulfilled, but unexpectedly, Richard pushes her off the cliff, causing her to be impaled on a dead tree branch. Stan and Dimitri are shocked by Richard's actions. Richard justifies his actions by explaining that letting Jennifer go would put them all in danger. He is also concerned about his affair being exposed to his wife. The trio returns to the house, intending to retrieve Jen's body after preparing for their hunting trip. Meanwhile, Jennifer, despite being injured, miraculously survives the fall with a branch piercing her body. She musters her strength to free herself and notices a lighter she carries. Using all her strength, she sets fire to the shrub, breaking free with the branch still lodged in her. Richard and his friends head towards Jennifer's location to dispose of her body, but Jennifer hears their vehicle and manages to move away in time. Hindered by the branch in her stomach, she hides while the three men search for her, assuming she was rescued or ran away. They decide to descend the cliff when it gets dark since going around would take too long. During their search, they discover traces of her blood, which they follow. Their pursuit comes to a halt when the blood trail leads to a lake. The men split up to find Jennifer, but Stan, driven by fear, opts to wait in the car in case she returns. Despite severe bleeding, Jennifer continues her escape. She hears a vehicle searching for her and, in a panicked state, spots Dimitri on his quad bike. Dimitri, unaware of Jennifer's presence, leaves after not finding her. Jennifer, seizing the opportunity, emerges from the water and sees Dimitri's rifle nearby. She sees this as her chance and approaches Dimitri, who tries to calm her down but has tricked her by placing an unloaded weapon away from himself. Dimitri alerts his friends but decides to torture Jennifer before bringing her to them. Luckily, Jennifer manages to take the knife from Dimitri's pocket and fatally stabs him, leaving him in the lake. She continues her escape, taking all the equipment she can gather from Dimitri. However, her journey is cut short as the vehicle she's using runs out of gas. Jennifer must continue on foot with the branch still embedded in her stomach. She stumbles upon a cave and decides to rest briefly. In extreme pain and unable to treat her wounds properly, Jennifer notices the necklace she's wearing and remembers the peyote she hid earlier. Desperate for relief, she consumes the drug. Soon, the hallucinogenic effects take hold. In a semi-conscious state, she attempts emergency treatment for her wounds. Numb to pain, she removes the branch from her stomach and cauterizes the wound with a heated tin to stop the bleeding. The following day, Stan and Richard still don't know that Dimitri is dead. Stan, who has just woken up, walks to the lake to wash his face, but suddenly he is shocked when he finds Dimitri's dead body emerging from the lake. They are left with no choice but to throw their friend's corpse in the lake. After that, Richard vents his temper, blaming Stan for Dimitri's death. They then leave while thinking of other ways to locate Jen. Once Jen has fully regained consciousness, she prepares herself to continue her journey. This time, it's not about escaping, but about getting back at them. With unstoppable emotions and a shotgun in hand, she starts to look for Richard and Stan's whereabouts in the desert. Meanwhile, Richard and Stan have found the quad bike that Jen had taken, and they are planning to split up to check around the area. Despite being barefoot and injured, Jen pursues Stan. After Stan has been driving around the desert for a while, his car starts to run out of fuel. Jen uses this opportunity to take direct aim at him with her weapon. The bullet only hits Stan's shoulder. When Jen gets back to her feet, she realizes that Stan is no longer there. Stan, who is already injured, puts on a sock to stop the bleeding. Jen, on the other hand, has lost track of him when her blood trail comes to a halt at a spot where she only finds his shoe. Stan, who is now hiding, loads his weapon with bullets to kill Jen from behind. Because of his injured hand, the shot misses and luckily only hits Jen on her ear. Jen, already injured in her ear, immediately runs away while Stan continues to shoot at her. Using a shard of a torchlight, she tries to stop Stan's pursuit. Fortunately for her, the shards of glass manage to injure Stan. He eventually manages to pull out the glass, but the huge wound on his leg makes it difficult for him to step on the accelerator pedal. Driven by anger, he continues to chase Jen. Jen finally manages to kill her rapist. She then hears a walkie-talkie call coming from Richard. Unable to reach Stan on the radio, an angry and exhausted Richard rides his motorcycle back to the house and calls for an immediate helicopter pickup. While in the shower, he hears a noise and searches for Jen naked, armed with a rifle. Jen finds him first and shoots him in the stomach when he dives for cover. The two of them chase each other around the house with shotguns, leaving Richard's blood splattered on every floor and wall. Eventually, Richard overpowers Jen and attempts to strangle her, but she fights back by inserting her hand into his stomach wound. Jen retrieves her shotgun and kills Richard. Bloodied but victorious, Jen walks out of the house as she hears the sound of the approaching helicopter. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed the video. See you again here on the Recaps channel.